seem to be three major sticking points around fisheries, around the role of the ECJ, and around standards. Do you see any quick progress being made on any of those? And do you see one as a key stumbling block, or do we just carry on tackling all three from here?
I think it depends on what soon means. Obviously, we have the summit at the end of the month. That's been seen as very much by some as a do-or-die summit because of the requirement to notify at that point whether either side wants to extend transition, and we know the UK government definitely doesn't want to. I think all eyes are on that summit for hints of progress that we perhaps haven't seen until now. You see some people saying effectively ignore some of the press conferences, and it's all hinges on what happens both in June and I think also in July, because we have to remember to situate this in the context of everything else that's going on from the EU side, and to what extent this ending up being a distraction works in the favor of making sure that we have a smooth transition, exit from transition, or does people wanting to focus on their own priorities mean that we have a disruptive end because people can't be bothered to focus on this anymore? That's the concern that we have, is making sure that protecting trade is still high up on both sides' agenda.
What if we have a no deal, fall back on WTO rules? How bad will that be for business? You know, we talked to Tim Martin sometimes from J.D. Weatherspoon, and he doesn't seem concerned about that, even if his biggest seller is Lavazza Espresso and Coffees.
Yeah, I mean, we have to take it with some context. I think Tim Martin certainly has a very fixed set of views leading his position-making. I mean, in terms of the wider business community, and we sort of talked to thousands, tens of thousands of businesses at a time, I think the biggest concern that unites everyone is making sure that this is done properly. You know, you can adjust, and business is very resilient, but they can't do it if we end up in a situation that we had last year, which is in the run-up to no deal, the potential first no deal in March. Businesses were only getting information about what the tariff schedule was going to be, what the plans for the Irish land border were going to be 2 weeks before that point in time, and that's what we want to avoid. So I think it's making sure that both sides realize that whatever the outcome, that you need to have a smooth adjustment, and that's what we get in standard trade agreements regardless.
Alice, that's interesting about the period of adjustment that will be given here. I wonder, when you talk to members, Ali, and when you hear from them, how much time do they spend thinking about Brexit, given what we've seen from COVID and the impact on the economy, the huge unknowns surrounding the economy still very present here in the UK? I remember on the 31st of January covering the UK leaving the European Union and saying even then this is starting to get pushed off the front pages by COVID, and that's certainly gained momentum ever since. How much time do you think businesses are really spending thinking about Brexit trade relationships across the Channel?
Well, interestingly, I think it's actually, in the wider sense, commensurate with the news coverage. You know, I think that actually we've started to see some more proactive interest from our members. I think that's because it has been more in the media of late, quite frankly, and it's reminding people of things they need to do. But you have to remember that there is a little bit of confusion over what it is that businesses are supposed to be doing at the moment, because on the one hand, we've been told that transition is not going to be extended, but we don't really have any kind of narrative from either side saying this is what you need to prepare for, or prepare full stop. So we know that it won't be the same kind of no deal as we would have had last year. We do have a withdrawal agreement to fall back on, but it's no less disruptive from the perspective of whether it's tariffs or planning. You know, if you talk to businesses in the agri-food space right now, they have no idea, because things are so changing on a day-to-day basis with their suppliers because of COVID, what position they're going to be in at the end of the year. And I think that reinforces the message that regardless of where we get to, just make sure that you deliver a commitment that people will have some sufficient time to adjust once those changes are clear, because at the moment, what we have to prepare for as a business community isn't 100% clear whatsoever.